Hello, hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
And today we're going to be talking about the last two episodes of Season 2 of the Powerpuff Girls, which are Something's Amiss and Slumbering With the Enemy. So we're going to be getting back to JoJo here soon. So I hope y'all are ready for that.
So the first part of the episode is called Something's Amiss. This episode aired June 30th, 2000. And what did I say that was weird? It's like they air like 6 months early in Australia before the United States got them for some reason, but then I looked closer and like Japan got them at the time, like 2 years later.
Yeah, which I thought was wild because I know PPG has like a huge Japanese audience, so like I was very surprised that they weren't airing them like close to the time we get them in the US.
So this is supposed to be a play on Something's Amiss, and I think Ms. Bellum is played by Jennifer Martin, but then Sedusa is played by Jennifer Hale.
Yes, that sounds right.
I guess I might have just like spoiled what happens, but... And then there's a section, I guess I could have said this at the end or when we got to it, but there's a section where the mayor's kind of having like a little soliloquy about Ms. Bellum while he's like sitting by a fireplace, and it's supposed to be some homage to the Big Lebowski, which I guess it was a little bit lost on me, but yeah, he's not like a man without his woman or something like that.
I've only seen the movie the once, and it's probably been like 10 plus years, so I totally didn't clock it either.
I don't remember. Like, it sounds vaguely familiar, like something that I've heard of before, and please don't murder us in the comments or whatever, because we haven't seen the Big Lebowski like a million times. Okay, Ms. Bellum cozies up to the mayor on the couch in his office and asks for the rest of the afternoon off. He blusters but gives in after she kisses him on the nose. He sits there in that same spot until the evening when Ms. Bellum bursts in and says that the bank has been robbed and she needs to call the girls. The girls search the bank and find no clues, and my question was, were there no witnesses? Ms. Bellum cries and they tell her to go home. The next afternoon, Ms. Bellum continues her seduction of the mayor in order to get the rest of the day off, complete with another smooch on the nose. The mayor is frozen at his desk this time when Ms. Bellum bursts in the evening again in order to call the girls about another crime, that the jewelry store was robbed, and once again there were no clues and apparently also no witnesses. Were there no cameras? Like, I'm just a little bit confused.
Yeah. Were the cameras destroyed? If there were any, like, what?
Ms. Bellum once again turns on the waterworks and is told to go home and rest. The next afternoon, Ms. Bellum kisses the mayor all over his face, and he tells her she can take off the whole week. He stays in the same place until evening when she bursts in to call the girls about an apparent robbery at the museum, where the girls again find no clues. I think it was the museum.
Yeah, I think it was the museum too.
The mayor waits around for Ms. Bellum to show up when a fax comes in as the girls try to figure out who the villain is. They get a call on the hotline and zoom to City Hall. The mayor says he's accomplished a lot without the use of his brain, and he is nothing without Ms. Bellum. He shows them a ransom note from Sedusa asking for $1 million for Ms. Bellum. The girls zoom off to Ms. Bellum's home and find, and I'm saying this in quotes, Ms. Bellum standing over a very frightened, in quotes, Sedusa, tied up and gagged in a chair. Blossom throws Ms. Bellum across the room. So if you're supposed to be like, but it kind of, to me, I mean, I guess maybe I've seen it before, but it was sort of obvious that they had swapped. Because the Sedusa in the chair looked terrified. Bubbles tears off the Miss Bellum wig off Sedusa, and Sedusa's hair pins Bubbles to a window with some pink goo. Her hair gel. I'm not sure if that sentence made sense, but Buttercup is similarly pinned while trying to free Bubbles. Meanwhile, Blossom works to free the real Miss Bellum from the chair. Sedusa throws her shoulder pads at Blossom as a distraction so she can pin her to the window also. It's like the girls easily are I don't know, stuck with glue or gum or...
Yeah, their weakness is just sticky things, I guess.
Miss Bellum is now free and takes off her Sedusa mask and takes on Sedusa. They fight and wrestle and throw each other across the room and finally fall through a window into the pool, where I noted Miss Bellum is apparently well paid, where they continue fighting. Miss Bellum finally punches Sedusa in the stomach and she scarily passes out underwater. So I was thinking Sedusa was going to drown. Because, if you pass out underwater, you're going to inhale water.
Right.
Yeah. Sedusa pops up, but is horrified by her flat, straight hair. The pool water dissolved her hair gel. Miss Bellum throws water on the girls after this revelation, and they are freed from the gel. The girls and Miss Bellum apparently cut Sedusa's hair. The girls reveal they never had $1 million to ransom Bellum with, just a bag of the mayor's dirty laundry. After Miss Bellum explains to the mayor it wasn't she that was trying to seduce him, he dashes off to the jail for visiting hours with Sedusa, and then the narrator says something about how the cuties of the town saved the day, and it included Miss Bellum in the picture, and she kind of had her leg up like the girls usually do when they're flying.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it was the cuties saved the day. I just didn't quite understand why she needed to even go through the rigmarole of disguising herself as Miss Bellum.
Yeah.
And tricking the mayor into getting the day off in the first place. And then she seems like she's they may never have figured it out if she hadn't involved Miss Bellum.
Right, yeah.
And since she's so clever at hiding or not leaving clues, why she went through that whole thing, Sedusa, and then why she was committing a crime every day. If she had spaced it out and wasn't leaving clues, it could have went on for much longer, in my opinion. It just wasn't a good plan. Yeah. I understand this is a kid show. It just didn't make sense for me.
Yeah.
I did like seeing Miss Bellum kicking some ass, and they kept still hiding her face and stuff.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering if her and Sedusa looked alike, because Sedusa had these huge green eyes and freckles, so I was wondering if maybe there was a very close resemblance. Obviously they kind of had the same body types. And yeah, the mayor is married, so his...
Yeah, that was gross. The scene with the pencil sharpener was gross.
Yeah, I just sort of decided not to describe that, but she helped him sexily sharpen his pencil in an electric pencil sharpener, helping put her hand over his hand, putting it into the sharpener.
Yeah.
It was... Yeah.
Pro is so easily tricked and seduced. The part where is that he got where he was, that a lot of people haven't got where he was. With the part where he basically says he didn't use his brains, I'm we noticed. We know that already, sir.
But at least it was a relief. Miss Bellum did have, I'm not sure about the house itself, but that she did have, I'm assuming she's single.
Yeah.
That she could afford, a big outdoor swimming pool. Yeah. So that the mayor, even though he didn't want to pay the Powerpuff Girls anything but nickels and dimes, it did seem like he was paying Miss Bellum well.
Yeah. She deserves it for having to put up with his bullshit.
Well, and she's mostly running everything.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that too. Oh, one piece of trivia, I guess. There's a part where they're going over to Miss Bellum's house, and they look in there with their X-ray vision, and they see 2 life forms, and Blossom tells them to execute Wing Attack Plan R, and apparently that's a reference to a flight plan for a nuclear strike in the movie Dr. Strangelove. I've never seen it, but...
It seems super obscure.
Yes, yeah. I was huh. They're just let's go with a deep cut.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm gonna start talking about Slumbering with the Enemy, which is the final episode of the season. Townsville is a very friendly town, especially if you're friends with the Powerpuff Girls. The professor shuffles sleepily through the house as the girls make sleepover invitations, which they then hand to deliver to every little girl in town, some at home, some at the park, and some snorkeling in their kiddie pool. However, from his volcano lair, MoJo gets wind of the invitations and scares and steals an invitation from a little red-headed girl. The house is packed with kindergarten girls, and Professor struggles to answer the door when the bell rings. He wades through a sea of children in the girls' room to invite in one final guest, a little blonde with blue ribbons in her hair. "Oh, girls," says Professor, "it's your friend MoJisha." And we see that it is, in fact, MoJo JoJo in drag as a little girl. So then the other children greet her, not realizing that she's really MoJo. They're completely oblivious to this. Blossom calls a huddle because obviously it's MoJo JoJo, and yeah. They don't want to scare the normal little girl, so they decide not to say anything now and to perhaps dispatch with MoJo later. They are horrified, however, when MoJisha busts out her granny's secret tea recipe, thinking she's going to poison the other children. They knock the tea out of one girl's hand and the cup shatters, but the other kids drink their tea and are unharmed, so the girls drink the tea too, and everything is totally fine. MoJisha then declares hide and seek with the girls seeking, and I just it's not even MoJisha party, but she's like in charge of all the shit apparently, just like, let's do this now.
Yeah, MoJisha kind of took over even though no one really knows her.
Yeah. So then when she declares hide and seek, the girls have to do the seeking. They count to 25 and book it down to Professor's lab where they think MoJisha must be trying to steal the Professor's secrets. They tear apart the lab looking for her when Professor comes in and demands to know what they're doing. They explain that MoJisha must be up to something, but Professor says she's hiding behind the plant in the living room. They find MoJisha, who then declares that it's time to play Pin the Tail on the Donkey. She takes off, and the girls hear screaming from the other room, but when they get there, they realize she is indeed just playing the aforementioned party game, and they're like screaming in joy. They decide that MoJisha just wants to have fun with them after all, and say, let's party! They dance, they look at boys in magazines, they play dress up with MoJisha, and eventually fall asleep beside her on the floor. But MoJisha really is up to no good. After everyone else goes to sleep, MoJisha sneaks downstairs into the professor's lab and steals some Antidote X. "Wakey, wakey," MoJo declares, brandishing the Antidote X. He hurls the orange liquid at the girls, rendering them powerless upon the ground. MoJo gloats, and then normal little girls ask how she could be so mean when MoJisha reveals that she's actually MoJo JoJo. MoJo gloats some more and at length, declaring the girls defeated at last without their powers. He says the girls are as weak, helpless, and scared as the useless, normal little girls surrounding them. The normal little girls do not take kindly to this. They glare at MoJo as he laughs at them, and then they proceed to beat the shit out of him with pillows. The Powerpuff Girls look on in awe as their friends defeat MoJo all by themselves. The day is saved thanks to the normal little girls of Townsville.
So as this being kind of like the last episode, I mean, the girls did get up. I'm not sure, were they floating and everything like they normally do? Are they unharmed by the Antidote X?
I was peeking at the wiki, and I normally just like to look at that just for trivia, but then that was kind of like, that did actually render them powerless, and that it's never explained how they get their powers back again after that.
So, like, season 3, they're just back to normal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it does just seem like Antidote X doesn't do anything permanent to them, and it's probably because that's how they were, like, it's baked into them. They were born that way.
Yeah.
And I feel like when it's introduced to someone who wasn't born with the powers, it's just temporary.
Yeah. That's probable.
The title, The Slumbering With the Enemy, they were saying it was a play on sleeping or fraternizing with the enemy, which I guess, but there was a movie called Sleeping with the Enemy.
Right.
Too.
Yeah, that's what I assumed, is that it was just a pun on the phrase sleeping with the enemy, which is not an uncommon phrase.
Yeah, the fraternizing one just didn't quite make sense.
Yeah.
And I just like what the professor, it killed his hairy, meaty calves when he was waking up in the morning while the girls were making invitations were funny. I just don't know. Like, I mean, you can take this out or whatever, but the whole like MoJo is like a chimpanzee, and then I get he chose his own name, but the Mojisha, it seemed a little racist.
Yeah, I feel like that definitely has some unfortunate implications that MoJo is a monkey and then he chose a name that makes him sound like a little black girl. Yeah, I also thought that was pretty questionable.
So I didn't want to just like run over that and not point it out. But on the whole, the episode was fun, like to watch MoJo participate in the sleepover. Like he did really seem to enjoy all of it.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't really have like a fun childhood. He was a lab monkey after all.
Yeah.
So especially the montage, like when the girls just decide they think he just really enjoys it, the dance, and then them looking at the boys in the magazines and them playing dress up, like all of that was really cute.
Yeah, it's adorable. I always really liked this episode when I was little. So, other trivia for the episode is that this is the first time someone other than the girls beats up MoJo JoJo. In the magazines they're looking at, Craig McCracken, Don Shank, and Gendy Tartakovsky make cameo appearances. And then I guess the Antidote X in other episodes has been a different color. In this one, it's like an orangey red. But in other episodes, it's been pink, it's been black, it's just been straight up regular orange. And then in the movie, it's a different color. So just like that, there's like no consistency with that, I guess.
Well, also, why does Professor just like have that in his lab?
Or is it sitting around? Like, goddamn it,
or at least like lock it up or something.
Yes. Why is it just right there where someone could easily access it? It should have been at least like in a cupboard behind some shit if he really feels like he needs to have it.
And even with having little girls, like a house full of kindergartner little girls over, some of the scenes, there's just tons of little girls. Why wasn't the lab itself locked up?
Yes,
because there's probably all kinds of dangerous chemicals and instruments that girls could get hurt on or like get sick if it touched them. Yeah. So I mean, again, if the girls weren't superheroes, I don't think the professor at this time should be a father. He's just like,
he should have like a padlock on the door or something, or at least just like a key, and then he kept the key with him.
He just leaves them alone a lot. Yeah. He doesn't really pay attention to like the stuff that they do, and like even with that little pet that he made, he just gave it to them and then just like did not supervise it. He's letting them fight monsters. Like I don't know, but yeah, I'm thinking that he shouldn't be hosting a slumber party.
Yes,
for normal little girls because of his negligence. I mean, he was in the house, but
yes, yeah,
he did go to sleep at one point too, so he wasn't really like watching everything.
Yeah, child-proof shit more. Like, come on.
His lab should be locked because MoJo could just break in at any time, like the Chemical X especially.
MoJo could have waited for a time when the girls are off fighting monsters and professors I don't know, like a science convention or something, and where nobody's home, and just busted in and gotten into his lab. I could have just waiting for the cover of the slumber party.
Yeah, and the girls they assumed MoJo was heading for the lab. And during the hide and seek, they absolutely trashed it, which is another reason they aren't careful. Is another reason to have a lock on the lab.
Yeah, but also they could have just used their X-ray vision and not trashed the lab.
Well, yeah, they probably could have to is there even anyone down here before we start tearing the place apart? Yeah,
it wasn't even my lab, and I was distraught.
Yeah, they were super not careful. They were just, I'm not sure. I don't know if it even looked like it was trashed later when MoJo went down there, but Professor would have been cleaning up for a long time.
Absolutely.
And then having to replace all the beakers, and
there would have been so much broken glass.
And the normal girls just being able to defeat him during a pillow fight just again shows how he's not any sort of great supervillain.
Yeah. I still loved that, though. He just got his ass kicked by just a bunch of small children with pillows. You don't even need to sick the girls on him. Just sick some regular children on him, and then he'll be absolutely cooked.
Yeah, he's just not, like, it's just sort of a joke at this point. When you're not like, oh no. He's like, when you see him, you're like, oh, some shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
But when you see MoJo, it's like, okay, what kind of silly thing is he gonna fail at this time?
Yeah, you're not like, oh, he's gonna do some psychological warfare on these children. No, you're just like, okay, dude, we'll see about this one.
This one was actually clever for him.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to stick him in gum or like use a laser. So it was kind of something different than what he normally does. He's always monologuing. He did sort of succeed in what he wanted to do, but then he got too cocky, I guess, and kind of mobilized those little girls.
Yeah.
Because he just kept saying over and over how useless and in different ways.
I've been pissed too.
Although, again, where was the professor?
He was big sleepy. But also, why didn't, like, some of the commotion wake him up?
But, okay, I can't remember. Did the girls reveal to him that Mojisha was MoJo?
No, they didn't get time to. Because then the professor's like, see, she's just hiding behind the plant.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's the one that opened the door and brought Mojisha in.
Yes.
But then the girls immediately clocked Mojisha as MoJo, but Professor did not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, does Professor have, like, face blindness or something? Like, genuinely, like, how did he not?
Well, with Sedusa, like, he didn't realize that she was, like, shitty.
Yeah, I feel like he has bad social skills too, but no shade. I don't really have great social skills myself.
Well, but that doesn't, I mean, I probably would have immediately been like, oh my god.
Yeah.
What's MoJo up to now? And I don't know how...
slammed the door in MoJo's face.
I don't know how he didn't, like, it was literally just... I mean, yes, MoJo was in a nightgown, but...
A nightgown and a wig.
But, I mean, it still had a green monkey face. Like...
Yeah.
And monkey feet.
Yeah. Didn't even shave. So I think that ends our discussion here, but next week we are going to start covering the first half of part 3 of JoJo Stardust Crusaders, and the first 2 episodes of that are called The Man Possessed by an Evil Spirit and Who Will Be the Judge? ? Exclamation point.
I'm not sure if I'm ready for JoJo. We will see.
Yeah, I am excited, though, to get you to part 3, though, because I feel like it kind of, like, sets the tone for the rest of this series. I feel like it matches more what you're gonna be getting into than maybe the first 2 parts do. And that's for a couple different reasons, which you will see once we get into that. But that's kind of, for me, I've probably said this already, where it really earns the bizarre part in in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Is this gonna be where it's, like, hard to describe what the heck is even happening?
In a very anime-ass way, probably, in some ways, yeah. Like, just, it's not going to be, like, where it has incomprehensible spoilers on, like, the same level as, say, like, Kingdom Hearts or Twin Peaks, but there's going to be some wild shit.
Yeah. Me and Bert say, okay. Me and Bert are unsure. We're very unsure.
Very unsure. It's okay to be unsure. I hope our audience is at least ready, even if you aren't. So we'll be talking about that next week. And if you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, it'd be super cool if you could do that or leave us a review. And In addition to being on most like podcatchers like Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, I do also upload these episodes to YouTube. So if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, which is Agent of Mischief Gaming, subscribe to the channel. Leave us a like, leave us a comment about the episode, about the podcast itself, what have you. We could definitely use some feedback, and we'd love to be able to get the podcast out there to more people.
Yes, please share with your friends.
Yes, especially if you're trying to get them into either the Powerpuff Girls or JoJo or both. This might be a helpful tool in that.
I was trying to think of a call to action really quick, but maybe what's your favorite scheme of MoJo's so far? We've got the slumber party in this episode. Or, like, what is your favorite Powerpuff Girls, like, where they reference another pop culture moment, like, where the Something's Amiss was, I think, kind of like a monologue from the Big Lebowski. Like, what's your favorite time when they've done that before?
Yeah. What has been your favorite pop culture reference that has been referenced on the show?
They do a lot of like Star Wars and stuff, but there's different ones. And also we do have another podcast. If you enjoy comedies, we are covering What We Do in the Shadows with our podcast, What We Pod in the Shadows, which is available on FX, and we watch it on Hulu, but that's always a good time. Like, there's all kinds of twists and turns on there. It's pretty hilarious, and it's a group of vampires that live on Staten Island, and they get up into all kinds of hijinks if you've never watched it before.
Yeah.
But we covered the final season, so the season 6 episodes are out there, but we're starting back over with season 1 and rewatching, because we've not rewatched it before, so it's kind of fun revisiting all of these episodes.
Yeah, and like getting to stuff and being like, wow, I don't remember that.
Yeah, and just even comparing like what happened in season 6, and I'm like, wait, they did talk about that at the very beginning. I want to smack myself in the head, but anyway.
Yeah. Thank you again for listening, for your support. Until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.